the most dangerous response to an accusation or to any given assertion is why, right? We oftentimes unconsciously adopt these vague attributions. For instance, like if someone were to, impose the value judgment of evil onto you, we'll simply ask why, right? And for many people, language becomes assumptive. It's just this mental process in self-referential ascription in response to language, essentially. And we attempt to disambiguate it in a very vague, short-sighted manner in many instances. So this value ascription of evil, it's a fixed static word that's associated with various behaviors, criminality, and notions of selfishness, and so on and so forth. So there's a perception of interchangeability and inseparableness between notions of disobedience and criminality, or simply questioning that which is unquestionable, with the response of why, right? The very notion of questioning could be seen as an act of evil, right? And because evil is often interpretive, or it's tinged by interpretation, subjectivity, most people have a general sort of notion of what constitutes evil. We still attempt to disambiguate it in a self-referential manner when we can't find a plausible reason for our evilness, or lack of goodness, rather. So we begin to make assumptions about our very nature. If you ask the question why, you begin to strip away the layers by which we use language. So evil, when you ask the question, why am I evil, there might not necessarily be a coherent, cogent response. But if there is something that corresponds to reality, right, that's self-destructive, or like you're imposing some sort of violence onto others unnecessarily, then there would be more clarity in that response. So really asking the question why is very important. Humanity is evil. Why? Because most people are primarily concerned with their own self-interest. Why? Because maybe we live in a society which encourages sort of a cutthroat competition for the sake of self-preservation. Why? Because that's the nature of society. Why? There comes a certain point where you don't necessarily know, so it gives you more room to really experiment, right? Like a scientist, and ask questions and theorize. And instead of just resorting to just these rigid notions of truth, right? What is truth? Well, for some people, it's pretty obvious. Truth is any given arbitration I've sort of adopted. There's no reason to ask the question why. Because I already know the answer. If you ask why, then it kind of shatters the foundation of my morality. Then I have to really ask questions about myself that might be very uncomfortable. So again, it's a very important yet dangerous word to use. Sometimes it's important not to ask the question why, but it really depends. I suppose, because untruth is sometimes more important than truth itself.